Hi, everybody.
Welcome back.
We're having too much fun over here doing the comedy and tragedy of life.
Isn't that just like life, right? Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down.
Are
and
you,
that's
ha-
the
are
way
you
that
happy?
it goes.
Are you happy, Nancy?
No, you
No,
are.
I am. Apparently, I'm happy.
I have the tragedy face on. You have the happy face on.
Okay.
Comedy and tragedy.
Yay.
Okay, enough of this.
Enough.
We just had to be silly. I don't know why.
We had to be silly.
Because we're silly people.
We had to lighten this up a little
And
bit.
because we had to move these, and there was one for each. I might have to take them home. Don't tell
There
anyone.
you go. Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Candid Conversation with your two badass young ladies.
Because what's next? Tap into your badass.
That's right. And we are at, again, our favorite coffee house, Cup of Joe in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin, which, by the way, to do a little promo there, we talked about that. You must come up to Twin Lakes and you must come to Cup of Joe.
It's fabulous.
It is. It has a Friends theme to it. It's huge. You can hang out. You can drink coffee. You can have alcoholic adult beverages. Great food.
Yeah.
And it's just a really
There's a great vibe here.
Great
It's a
vibe
really great
here.
vibe.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Because there's a great vibe.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So there's our
Yep.
all I need in the morning is quiet and a good cup of Joe.
And because coffee.
There you go.
Sip
So
up.
yeah, give them a like.
Mhm.
Check out their website. I did a book signing here, and it's a great place. They have a lot of people that are very devoted to this place. So
Yes.
Let's start with introductions.
As always.
I'm Nancy Jo Nelson. I'm a writer, a speaker, and a coach, and I sing. This is my book, Lessons from the Ledge, a little book about big stuff. It's a memoir, and the link to get that is in the description below. I saw they did that on YouTube videos. In the link below.
There you go.
It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It is a snapshot of a period of time in my life from 2009 until about 2012. Short story long. My husband, after I asked for a divorce, went missing, and it was 5 months to the day when we found out that he had killed himself about a mile from our house. Now, this happened back in 2009, 2010. At the time, my daughter was 16, my son was 11, and so my book is about a lot of what I learned, went through, discovered, and I'm very, very proud of it. And I'm currently working on book number 2 called More Lessons, because a lot of life has gone on, obviously, since 2012 till now and continues on. So I also am available for coaching. I am a kick-ass coach.
Yes.
I totally am a kick-ass coach. So if you want to live your best life, I'd love to help you do that. So without further ado,
Your partner in crime. Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Iser, and I am a senior and patient advocate for a company called New Day Aging, which is my business. I am a very empowered, new age thinking, and I'm going to be careful about using the words new age because that has a whole other
woo-woo.
that does get woo-woo. And I don't mean woo-woo, but in reference to aging. But I come with a very strong background, both in my education and my professional life, in working with older adults, which Nancy and I are, and changing the way we view our older age. I think there's so much more to life as we age that unfortunately in society we are being pretty much pigeonholed into being judged and valued based on a chronological number.
Right.
So that being said, that's my background, my claim to fame. The way that I got here with Nancy is, unfortunately, I share a similar path in that I am recently widowed and going through my second year of loss, which has been is challenging on some levels as the first year, just different. So that's a little bit about how we came together, was through that similarity. But we're here.
I've also known you since I was like 18.
Yes, right. We go back a long way. Yes,
We're like
we
sisters.
do. Yes, we are sisters. There were never such divided sisters. La 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 la. Okay. Anyway, we're in a fun,
We are in a fun
playful mood today.
Which is good because it's a little gloomy outside and it's kind of rainy. It's trying and
Right, and we're going to talk about it, and Nancy's going to introduce our
It's
subject
a perfect
matter.
segue again.
I'm telling you.
Damn you, Diane!
Damn you, Diane!
How do we do this? I don't even know.
And remember, we're always unrehearsed. Which
Could you tell?
Which your foot is.
I'm not going to hit this
closer
table.
to that
She's
table.
convinced I'm going to hit this camera.
So,
Something. If you ever see like things move, it's me.
It's her. So
She'll be
without
laughing.
further ado, Nancy will now introduce. Oh God, we have to do a serious subject. So I'm glad we had a little levity going.
But
into
is it serious? It all
Doesn't-
depends on your perspective.
Thank you.
suppose.
So go for it. Tell them what we're talking
So
about.
today we are talking about something totally different than what I thought we were going to be talking about.
Right. I don't even know what we're going to be talking about.
Well, I have been thinking about like doing more around the idea of different types of grief and like grieving people who are still here, dealing with kind of grieving expectation of someone who has an addiction or that kind of thing. But after the last couple of weeks, it occurred to me that I was sort of in a place of suck. And when I reached out to Diane to speak with her, she also was kind of in a place of suck.
Oh yeah.
You know what? So we decided today to talk about what are some tools you can use to get through
The place
or
of
to,
suck.
right? Yeah, or to like sit and wallow in that place of suck until that place of suck moves on. And once again, you know, you go from this to
She got it, I
this
was-
because that's life. That's just the way that life is. You know, what do you do with that feeling of waking up in the morning with that sense of dread or foreboding? I have an interesting story I'll share a little bit later with all of that, but being self-aware, you know, and acutely aware of kind of where you're at in your emotional makeup. What do you do when those emotions get the best of you in a negative way? So we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, that's our show is on suck, suck and what to do about suck. And there's things we can do about it. It's amazing as you sit here and listen to us that anyone, all of you out there, can be in a place of suck at any point in time based on what's going on in your life and actually how you perceive what's going on in your life. And like Nancy said, it was just uncanny yet again. We end up talking to each other when we hadn't been for a little bit, and we find out that we're both in this funky ass place. And for me, the funky ass place the last couple weeks, what I have experienced in the loss of my husband is I still, and you know, many people have experienced loss. I'm not the first person to experience a loss. Nancy's not the first person.
I'm the second.
But she's the second. But what's really interesting is that when you do experience a big loss like that, you do feel like you're the first person, even though you know better.
Mm-hmm.
But you can sympathize with people when they lose a loved one, but it isn't until you lose someone really close to you that you realize empathy. Now you understand. Now you have a greater understanding. So the last couple weeks, I was in this suck place that I was self-aware of, and because it's been with me since he passed, and it for me is it's a zapping of my energy. It's a and that's what I was telling Nancy. I said, I know the difference between when I'm tired from working out like boxing. It's a much more invigorating tired. It's a tired that you recover from quickly and feel better than you did before you worked out. Grief and fatigue is very draining. And like Nancy said, it's always going on behind the scenes. So it's not even it's not just in your conscious mind. It's back in your unconscious mind. And that's where the fatigue comes from, the struggling to find. And you know, a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are my friends and family will be somewhat taken back by it because they see me when I'm doing my thing. But what they don't see when I go home is what going home does to me on a psychological level. It zaps my energy. And it tends to make me feel overwhelmed in my mind about anything that I have to do. Now, I know better. I know better through self-awareness. I know better because I continue to do my work as Nancy continues to do hers. I wanted to say last time we did a video, I made the comment about Nancy and I doing our work. Your work never stops.
Yeah, you said we've done our work, and I was like,
I know. I made a mistake.
Today?
We've done our work. Yeah, for the day.
Yeah.
Work never stops. Learning never stops. That's another fallacy about aging. We've been taught to stop when we reach a certain number, but we're going to talk about that another time. So going back to the fact that what my suck represented was this overwhelming sense of I do have a lot to do. I do have a lot to get done, as we all do. It's just I have other variables that are pushing down on that opportunity to do the things that I normally do and feel a sense of accomplishment and feel a sense of lightness about it, because that grief is heavy. It's very heavy. Even if I accomplish something, Nancy, I don't feel the way I used to feel, like, oh wow, I got that done. I could check that off my list and feel lightness. Mm-hmm. So that was my place of suck, revolved around the continued struggle with grief, the continued struggle with being overwhelmed, the sadness that just seems to hit me upside the head over the littlest things that I rediscover I've lost because he's not here.
Yeah.
That in turn also makes me want to stop. It makes me somewhat angry, not super angry, because I think anger needs to be used wisely, otherwise anger works against you. So that was my place of suck for a couple weeks, and I'm probably still in it, but I've practiced some tools, and we're going to talk about the tools. But what about you when you were going through your place of suck?
Mine was coming from a total place of fear.
Okay.
Of like fear and lack of control and what if, and all this kind of stuff. And, and interestingly enough, what I found, and it was really interesting, there was this stress in my life, and, and I was like, financial is always my thing, because that's where I think that's where I need to learn the most. So I think those things come up the most. If you're finding the same types of things come up in your life a lot, I think usually, in my opinion, there's something for you to learn there.
I agree.
To move forward.
Yeah.
There's something,
There's a reason why that energy is
coming
coming
back. To
back.
get out of, right, and to get off that treadmill of like handling the same things the same way over and over. It's like the same definition of insanity, to do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome.
Right.
So there was a lot for me to be learning in that, but it was not a pleasant thing, and it was a place where I was coming from fear, And when the situation got resolved, I had a backache, and I never get backaches, And I figured out it's because I traveled and I slept on a couch, and, and maybe I strained myself playing with my grandkids or something along those lines. Literally, as soon as I found out the situation was resolved, the pain went away. There was no, I was like, okay, that was weird. So it was indicating to me, that's where I was carrying my stress.
Exactly.
Right?
There's your self-awareness, because it manifests sometimes physically.
Right. And usually I carry it all like right up here, and I'm like, what is going on today? I'm fine. What's with you? This was in my back. I never have backaches. And all of a sudden, like that, it was gone, which was really interesting. That mind-body connection and all of that kind of stuff. And I know it was coming from a place of fear. And I thought, all right, there's something I need to really look at here. I need to take that deep breath. This is a tool, my favorite tool, taking that
tool number one.
Take that deep breath and get back into your body. Shut the brain off, because it's like out of control, going down that rabbit hole or out into the future, and oh my God, worst case scenario. By my remembering, okay, stop for a second, take that deep breath. Where am I at in this moment? I'm okay.
Right.
I'm safe. I'm okay. I know that there will be an answer, and I will not always feel like I'm in this unknowing place. And a lot of it is, how do I handle being in that unknowing place? And do I handle kind of being in that unknowing place better now than, say, 5 years ago? Right. And I do. If I didn't, you know what I mean? So I have learned, and I could see that I have learned from that. We don't control anything but ourselves and how we respond. So being angry at the situation, or at, an employer or the government or my best friend or my kids or whatever, all that's doing is kind of putting the blame elsewhere and projecting it onto other people, other situations.
And you're a victim.
Right.
And I
else. Do not want to be in that victim place, because that victim place is like that learned helplessness.
Right.
And I didn't want to be in that place. So I had to make sure, like, I took that deep breath, and it was not a one and done thing either. It was a continual, okay, right now I'm in this kind of funky place. I know it's not going to always be this way because things change. The roller coaster goes back up after it's gone down and all of that. That's just life. But what am I going to do during this time frame? And a lot of what I've learned over the last, how many years? 11 years,
11,
since
12.
2010, 2010, 29,
right.
2010,
Going on 12.
is that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would judge myself harshly. I would think you're not getting things accomplished. Oh, you're succumbing to this negative thinking. Oh, you're doing this. You don't. And now I'm just like, whatever, I'm okay. Wherever I'm at, if I'm angry, if I'm sad, if I'm feeling helpless, if I'm feeling fearful, there is a self-acceptance that I practice now to say, that's okay.
Tool number two.
Tool number 2.
Self-acceptance.
Be gentle with yourself. I mean,
Right.
Think about it. You're going through a hard time. What are you saying to yourself in your head? And if you take that and remove it, and if Diane called me and said this, would I say the same things to her that I'm saying in my own head?
Exactly right. People, we forget how to treat ourselves like we would treat our good friend. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it's learned behavior. Any generation.
Where the hell did that come from?
Right.
What?
Where did that come from?
Congratulations! You got a new baby girl. Make sure you tell her she should hate herself and beat herself up at every opportunity. That's how you live. Where does it come from? I don't get it.
It's a societal. We've evolved as a society. Every generation does, and hopefully we learn and continue to move forward. But one of the things that sometimes we bring with us in baggage is the fact that we forget the only way to be the best that we are is to take good care of ourselves. And it's interesting because when that was being taught, which for me, from my path and my work and started in the 1980s, and psychology was just starting to embark on a lot of this in the 1980s.
Remember how to be your own best friend.
This wasn't there.
Oh my God, that is like earth-shattering.
This wasn't there
right
in the 1970s and before, so you have to remember that for somebody that's our age. But Nancy brings up a really valid point, which is we have to remember and gently say to ourselves, I would treat, if it was my best friend or my child that came to me and said I'm struggling, we'd be so kind. We would want them to know that there was no wrong choice. We would want them to know that they had someone who supported them non-judgmentally.
Right.
And here's another interesting twist.
Or just to remind us that it's not always going to feel this way.
Exactly right.
Right now
Perspective.
It feels really hard or whatever. It's not always going to feel like
Perspective.
that.
And
Right.
here's another thing that I had mentioned, Nancy. And it deals with the fact that when you're in the suck, whoever you are, for whatever reason you're in it in a day, it has nothing to do with whether you're a strong or a weak person.
Right.
And that's something.
It has to do if you're a human.
Exactly right. That has become very apparent to me since I've lost my husband, because I am categorically, and I view this as a compliment, but I want to make some distinction, that I'm a strong person. Well, because I'm a strong person doesn't mean I don't feel the same despair and the suck that somebody else who isn't as strong maybe as I am does. No, guess what? The despair is, regardless of weak or strong, it's just as big in the suck, if you're feeling that. Confusion in the suck, it's just as big. It's all on what Nancy said, it's all on perspective and how you deal with that. And I'm going to give you tool number 3, which for me, I've been practicing since Russ died. And sometimes it's hard for me, but it's always in the forefront of my mind, and that's gratitude. I have for all that has changed, for all that has been so profoundly different at a level of loss, I don't forget in a day how grateful I am for all the things I still have, all that I still am, and all that I still can be. It's really a juggling act on a day-to-day basis to make sure I don't get lost in the loss of what's going on around me, which is difficult. And the gratitude portion really is stabilizing. So I find myself now when I'm talking to a good friend and they're asking how I'm doing and I'm being honest and telling them some of the suck land, I find myself within seconds of talking about being in the suck place that I'm saying, but I'm so grateful for this and I'm so grateful for that. And that too has a strong component on you physiologically. Mm-hmm. It really, really does. And it does for me in all arenas to remember what I'm grateful for. It actually helps me to get through being in that place, no matter how long that place is.
Well, you know what too, Diane, that's a huge power thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you make the decision
yeah.
to consciously choose gratefulness, to constantly choose the glass is half full, and that's where I will focus, to consciously do that, that is a very powerful place to come from, because you've taken your power back from whatever situation is going on that you perceive and taking it back on yourself to say, I have the ability to change my own perspective, you know?
Right.
And
it's empowering.
And an empowering place right there helps elevate you just enough above the suck level to go, oh,
I see.
Okay.
I see I see across the water.
I see the light at the end of the suck
I see
tunnel.
the land.
Right, you know, and then that's really important. And I think the other thing that we lose sight of when we're in it is that emotions, this is something that my drama teacher told me back in college. Emotions are neither good nor bad. They simply are.
Yes.
So because of that,
no judgment.
Think about, and this is the thing that's been coming up to me a lot, is, you know, why do I label something good or bad, weak or strong, whatever, instead of it just is, right?
Right.
We're all strong. Every last person
That's right.
is strong. You don't necessarily always realize that or claim that until you're in a situation where you have to be. You know, where it's a crisis situation or it's 2 weeks to flatten the curve a year ago or whatever it is that you stop. It's true. That you all of a sudden are in this place of like, I gotta do what I gotta do, right? And it's not a matter of do I feel like doing it or not, or am I in a good place today or not? It's just simply you have to do it. You have to go on. You know, and it's the same thing with loss. You know, you have to go on. Those are the times that you realize that you are strong, and every time you're doing that, you're kind of strengthening that resiliency that you have to have. We all have it, but it lies dormant a lot of the time. And so I think, where are we on lesson number?
That was 3 or 4. I can't remember.
All right.
I think it was 4.
Okay.
Don't ask me to repeat what they
another
were.
tool.
There you go. I think
Celebrate how amazing you are.
There you go.
We forget that all the time. You know, we're so busy beating ourselves up or trying to hold our breath while we're under the suck level and, you know, until we come up for air again or whatever it is. We really are amazing human beings with unlimited potential. And we're incredibly powerful. And I think we forget that. And I think that's probably purposeful in a lot of ways, kind of coming from the outside at us, to make us feel like we are so helpless, or, you know, we can't fix that, or we're at the mercy of whomever. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, it's a lie.
Yeah, well,
it's a lie.
But what's interesting is the stronger the stimuli. So I want you to think about something. So when someone's impacted by something negative, if it's overwhelmingly negative and you haven't practiced and done some work on trying to remember tools, that overwhelming negative stimuli is going to rule you. You have to make that conscious effort.
Right.
And that conscious effort doesn't appear out of magic. It appears out of constant practice, out of constantly, like I said.
Well, and living it.
And living
it.
Absolutely. And like you said to me too, this is life. I mean, I've always been clear on that, even before I lost my husband. Life is life. It just is life. You have I always boil it down to 2 things. You have 2 choices. You can survive or not. And for me, it's very simplistic.
Well, survive or thrive.
Survive or thrive.
There are a lot of people
that
just sort of like clutch on tight and gut it out until the end. And there are other people that say, this is a really awesome ride. I don't always,
Right.
sometimes I throw up, depending on
Hopefully
how
not
fast
on
the
somebody
ride's
else.
going or how big the dip, but
Right.
I prefer that over living beige and like the kind of that like little flat line area there. I don't want to go through life in this place of existence. I want to put a lot of really cool stuff in that dash between the beginning and the end,
Right.
But that's, again, it's a choice. It's a
Yes.
choice to make. There's a quote that I love by Annis Nin, and it is something, I'm going to butcher it, but something to the extent of until the pain of staying stuck is greater than that fear of moving forward. We're not going to bloom. We're not going to reach our
Right.
full potential. That caterpillar basically dies in that cocoon and is reborn again.
Right. Has to go through pain
Right.
in order for growth.
Right. And I guess too, the pain is a subjective term as well, and it's not like, I think sometimes I can like watch somebody on YouTube or talk to somebody and I think, oh my God, they must just spend all day meditating and figuring out their work and writing lists down and
I don't think so.
talking to their therapist and their coach and their best friend and their kid. You know what? A lot of it, it's always going on in the back of your mind, but it doesn't mean that you don't go to the grocery store and vacuum your floor and
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Clean up the dog poop.
Again, it's life. Life goes
just
on.
life.
You have to take the garbage out. It doesn't matter if you're in a ball in the corner.
Shit's got to get done, man.
Eventually,
Right.
you got to get up and do something.
And you know what? I'm a firm believer that if you don't do it at that point in time, like that's okay too. Get off your back.
Well, movement is pivotal. Movement is pivotal, especially when you're
Until
going
it's,
through the
unless
suck.
it's not. Because sometimes stillness is pivotal.
Okay. All right.
And again, that involves though accepting yourself wherever you are.
But
Right?
it's choice based.
Because
That's choice based.
movement can become a distraction.
Right. But for the
Right?
sake of not getting too heady, like we tend to do between ourselves,
Right? I know.
for that sake, in the suck, when you're immobilized and you're not moving, it is in your best interest
Do
to
something.
get up
Right.
and do something physical. Now, if you make the choice to sit down and meditate and be silent, that is also a good thing. But when you're rolled up in the corner in a ball, incapable, you're not making a choice then. What you're doing is you're succumbing to,
Right. You're
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 succumbing
basically
to
in
it.
a reacting space.
you're in a reacting space. Absolutely correct.
I used to take a mental health day from my job. This is back years and years and years ago. And you'd have one of those days and you just go like, ugh, I can't do it. I'm not really sick, but I don't really want to go into work today. So I would call off work. And at the time I was living with a roommate. And Jane would say to me, she's like, oh, okay, so you're taking a day off, that's fine. I would spend so much time beating myself up and feeling guilty about the fact that I'm not really sick, but I called off work today, that I literally would not accomplish anything to take care of myself, to rest, to do whatever it was that I felt I needed to do on that day off. And she would say to me like, okay, well, if you made that decision that you're not going to go in, then shut the hell up and like do something fun. Like stop whining about it or else go in. You know what I mean? I was like in that in-between place of like, yeah, I'm going to do this, but oh my God, I feel so guilty and now I'm paralyzed and I can't whatever. And blah,
Was
blah, blah,
that
blah, blah.
apparently before that actually was implemented in society in corporate
Oh, God,
America?
yeah, this was a
where
bazillion
you got
years
to
ago.
take your mental
Right,
health
right,
days,
right.
and then therefore you no longer needed
And
to
well,
feel guilty.
And that was also
Back
an ego
then.
thing too. Like, oh my gosh, if I don't go to work today, who is going to pick up the phone? I am so necessary.
We're all replaceable,
Right,
folks.
you know what I mean? But that was where my headspace
Right.
was at that time of, I would make this
Ego.
decision,
Mm-hmm.
but then I would like second guess myself. And a lot of what I tried to do, and this is another tool to use, is when you decide to do or not do something, then let it go.
Right.
Instead of, and again, if your friend called you and said, hey, I took a mental health day today because I've really been stressed out about whatever and I just need to blah, 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 would you say like, oh my God, you would say like, good for you.
Right.
I hope that works out well for you. Or do you want to go grab a cup of coffee since you're home? Or whatever the case might be. We don't talk, I mean, we really, really need to really listen to how we talk to ourselves in our heads. And then the other tool that I will say, which is kind of as a step down the road in this self-discovery and self-awareness, is then starting to identify whose voice am I actually hearing.
Right. Is it my own or is it some past voice that's
I would hear, I'd be
in
like,
my head?
oh, my mom just got in my head and said something, you know,
Right.
or my boss, or that teacher just said whatever, or my husband or my wife or whomever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't actually my own voice. That came from somewhere, and why, and where am I at with that? And that's more of an advanced tool that actually attaches onto your tool of the voice in your head kind of thing. But we all have suck days, you know, we all have suck weeks. What I find fascinating is that I believe that we as a people have become so unbelievably impatient that we think that, you know, a year is forever. Or I mean, like, how long ago was like Y2K? You know, who are we to think that, well, I need to know everything that's going on everywhere so that I can give my blessing to whatever it is. God bless you.
Excuse me.
Because I have all of the answers to these things. Or, you know, how dare I not know everything going on from the last X amount of years and whatever. And I remember seeing some YouTube channel, and somebody was made a comment. It was like, well, it's already been like 4 years, so and I literally got on there and made a comment back and said, 4 years is nothing. Like, that's not even like, who are you? 4 years is no, like,
Again, it's perspective.
it is. It's all, and again, it's
perspective.
about that being able to be present in the
Right.
now, and saying, okay, in this moment, this is my environment, what I know. That's what I need to move forward on, not how I feel or that kind of thing, because those emotions aren't going to kill you. First of all, I don't care what they are.
Right.
Sitting in the suck doesn't kill you.
No,
it just
doesn't.
sucks.
It
That's
doesn't.
why it's called suck.
That's right. Absolutely correct. Sometimes we get lost in the fact that we think our feelings are accurate, and our feelings are not always accurate.
Or
So-
that they have more power.
That they have more. Oh, absolutely. That they have more power to keep us stuck. And I think that's one of the things that mindfulness that I've learned over the course of time is that, like Nancy said, you know, these things don't last for forever. What happens is you have to remember what society has been teaching us for a very long time, and society is still doing this as a cultural norm, is that we should be happy all the time. We should be happy all the time.
And have everything we've ever wanted right now.
Right, and the operative word there that is just a cognitive distortion is the word should. Anytime you find yourself putting the word should, Nancy doesn't like that word. I don't know. Anytime you find yourself...
Should is could plus shame.
There you go. And anytime you put that word should in front of the statement you're making, you're actually imposing upon yourself some idea of perfection that you're not going to be able to reach.
It's all ego.
It's all ego-based.
It's all ego.
It's ego-based. So
we are really fascinating people, aren't we? Like, this is... We really are. We're
Well-
very complex, fascinating people with the way that we're influenced, or our brains and how they work and all of that. That's always just been my thing, and that's probably why I am who I am. But that's this too shall pass, which is what a lot of I think my mom would always say that was like this too shall pass. Don't. But we have a little boy in our window. Hi, little boy. Bye.
I was just going to turn the camera. I literally was going to turn the camera.
Look who came to our window.
We had
today.
a young man, probably about the age of 10 to 12, who was climbing the window
Right over
as
there.
Nancy's talking. So,
So she's laughing at me, and I'm trying to be really
so
serious.
again, we don't edit. What you get, what you see is what
This
you
is
get.
called real time, my friends. But anyway, there's a number of things, like don't borrow trouble. My mother always says don't borrow trouble, which in other words means don't go way out ahead of yourself. Stay present.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your powder dry. That's another one my mom says.
Oh, I never
Keep
heard
your
that.
powder dry. In other words,
heard
don't
that one.
create these issues where no issues necessarily are.
That's that's a whole nother topic. I mean, some people do that, but a lot of people don't do that, and there still is the suck.
Oh, right.
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 I mean, that's a...
But you know what? I
That's
think
interesting.
I have realized that if we didn't have suck, then we wouldn't feel that release
Right.
when something really wonderful happens.
That's absolutely correct.
You know,
we would have joy.
Right. You got to
We would
have
have-
contrast to things,
Right.
as hard as it is. And personally, I mean, I'm glad that right now my suck has lifted and I'm in a much different frame of mind. And it wasn't that it was something that was crippling, but it was obviously based on my backache and then it going away. It was in my body somewhere. It was in the back of my head. I was stressed, you know, and more so than I thought. And it's one of those things, have you ever had that situation where like you didn't realize how much something was weighing on you until it wasn't
lifted.
anymore, and you went like, oh my God, I had no idea how big a thing that was to me until it was, you know, remedied.
Right. So I think that hopefully you got some, I know you got I believe you got 5 good tools on how to deal with when you're in the suck. And the bottom line is, we're human.
Yep.
There's going to be days that we're in the suck.
Yep.
There's going to be hours or minutes that we're in the suck. But
There could be years that you're in the
there's
suck.
going to be years you're in the suck. Absolutely correct.
Decades. Like,
But
again, it's your it's your perspective on it as well.
on how you survive. And I can't help but do this, Nancy. I think we could use these two to say, which do you choose in the suck? Come on, let's do it. So, which one do you choose when you're
in the suck?
When you're in the suck, and the choice ultimately is yours. Ching ching. The
choice is yours, and in making that conscious choice to say, okay, I accept the fact I'm in the suck,
right.
And now I'm going to make a list of all the things that I'm grateful for. Even as simple as I'm breathing, I woke up today, I have toenails, whatever it might be. When you take that step, you are doing something which is then impacting your mind in the way that you're experiencing your suck.
And you have, and when you take action, that goes back to what I'm saying. When you take action at any given point in time, that gives you an element of control. Where a lot of times when you're in the suck, the biggest problem with suck is you feel no control. You feel you have no control or no say in the suck.
Right.
When you're going through your fear, that's based on something else, false evidence appearing real.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
That's outside of you. But when you take control of that fear by saying, I think I'm going to address it, I'm not going to let it be something that I feel that, oh, I can't handle this. You've made a decision. Right. And that decision empowers you and gives you some say. I don't know. I was thinking of this, Nancy, about future shows, and I wanted to hit this before we end this. Nancy and I have talked at various times as her phone is ringing.
Oh, that's the lovely chime. That was my son. I gotta call him back.
There you go. Perfect timing to end the video. But we had talked about doing different things with this video. One of the things we had talked about is maybe doing some kind of show where either we have someone come in and sit with us and talk, or we have an audience that wants to participate, and we have that interaction. Why don't you, if you have an idea for us?
Right, we could even do like a Facebook Live.
We could do a Facebook Live, absolutely.
Let us know what you feel like the best timing would be for that, like an evening kind of thing. Facebook Live is fun.
Yeah, I've never done it.
Oh yeah, because you got people like literally like trying and like, oh hey, hi, oh you're watching. You know.
So if you want to see us do something just a little bit different, because that's what this is all about, just subscribe, like, and throw something in the comments on what you think we could do. Just so you know, in future shows coming up, and this is coming to me now, so just want to put that out there. We will be doing more and more shows about different topics. We'll be doing shows that will actually be, we've covered a lot of really serious, heavy kind of subject matter, but we will be doing shows that are probably, I can't wait to do a show on aging, on positive aging, because that to me is a very uplifting topic. And Nancy, I know, as a coach, has tons of ideas when it comes to that.
Right, and I think a lot of it just welcome to the community and know that there are people that are like-minded in kind of their quest to understand themselves and to gain insight and to be able to take some of these tools and put them in their mental toolbox to be able to pull those out and see there hopefully is an improvement in every aspect of your life from doing these things,
Right.
whether it's with your own self, with your family, with your your friends or coworkers, because as you become more aware, it takes the pressure off the expectations you have on a lot of other people, because you're finding that you're doing a lot of those things for yourself, and a lot of the misunderstandings or the things that we create in our own minds that can make the way bumpy get smoothed out, and it's good stuff.
It is. So on that note, let's go back to we're going to tap.
Like, subscribe, comment, read the description below with our websites and my book information.
That's right. And remember to tap.
Turn that around. Turn that around.
I'm grabbing my little things
I know,
here.
we got it.
Okay, remember to tap into your badass. Have a great.
See you next time.
Have a great week. Bye. Let's see if we're